Hello and welcome to the Horror Hags.
Then yeah, we still don't have sound effects.
No, this is a very low budget affair, people.
It's two broke queens.
Two broke queens? Is that like, it's like a
Two
sitcom.
broke girls, right?
Yeah,
Something.
right.
And then they're
Okay.
struggling in New York.
Yeah, we are.
We're not doing showcasts
Well, one
now,
of these days
people.
we'll have money for sound
Comedy.
effects. Yeah. For now, we'll just have to make do with comedy.
This week,
Yes.
we're going to burn it all down.
Yes,
with
we're
an
shaking things up.
Apocalyptic episode.
Yes.
Just world destruction is our middle names. All you Fallout lovers, come hither, come gather. We're talking post-apocalyptic nightmare dream extravaganza.
Are you talking like it's almost Halloween, people. That's why he's Zach is in witch mode. Which is most of the time. But anyway, so we're doing
Creepy.
apocalyptic horror this episode, and we usually talk about the retro movie last. We're going to shake things up, people.
Like the earth on the apocalypse.
There she goes.
Shaken.
We're going to start with the retro one.
Oh, yes. Today, we're doing Escape from New York.
By John Carpenter.
We are doing A Quiet Place.
Not by John Carpenter.
What was the last one?
and the Divide, which is a
Divide.
French director.
Oh, yes.
Totally fucked up movie, but we'll talk about that last.
Oh, that had some good moments in it, though.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Let's talk about the retro first. Escape from New York.
Yes. So, like I said, directed by John Carpenter, who did Halloween.
Okay.
And The Fog and all those wonderful horror movies. So this one's more, as I was watching it for the, fourth time, I think, because I've seen it many times, I was thinking about it's more sci-fi.
It is
than
very
horror.
sci-fi.
Yeah, so we've deviated a little bit.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
Strangely enough, The Walking Dead. Later in the seasons, where it's
Really?
kind of like...
Tell me why, Zach.
Well, I feel like New York, right? New York kind of became this weird, like, crime-infested, yet still trying to be its own political state in that movie.
Right, and what he's talking about is the premise of Escape from New York. So, according to the movie, in 1988... crime had increased in the United States by 400%.
Yeah.
So they didn't have enough jails, so they decided to turn the island of Manhattan into a maximum security prison.
Right, like the whole thing is just a massive prison. Mentally it is now, but on a different scale. But let's keep going.
Right.
Manhattan.
And you were comparing that to The Walking Dead, how?
Just like they were trying, it was like post-nightmare, post-terror, post-whatever. And in 1988, it was, we're forming a new society, right? And in The Walking Dead, it was two groups of people, still at this moment, trying to form their own societies. And in Manhattan, that's kind of how it was. The way of life, the walks of people were happening there. And that's why I related. Later in the seasons, I'm not talking 1 through 3. I'm talking after they've met a whole group of people and are trying to figure it out. So that's why I attribute it to.
I'm just sitting here staring at Zach as he talks.
I'm mesmerizing.
He is. You should see him, people. Can we talk about the cast in Escape from New York? A bunch of old people that you don't know.
Snake.
I'll tell you. Well, we'll get to him last.
Okay.
Because he's special mention. So in this cast is Adrienne Barbeau, who's just lovely. She plays Maggie.
Oh, okay.
The one with the pink, the purple dress and the boobs. Yeah.
Oh, I love a good purple dress.
Yeah. And Adrienne Barbeau, I love her dearly. She was married to John Carpenter, who directed.
Okay.
And then one of the notes that I wrote is I love the music from Escape from New York. It's very synth, and John Carpenter writes his own music.
That's the 80s, baby.
It's the 80s. So John Carpenter wrote the score. And little trivia, his son with Adrienne Barbeau, now Cody, so I know all this shit, right?
I know. Like
useless information.
Interwebs.
They do music together now.
Okay.
But apart from the wonderful and lovely and talented Adrienne Barbeau, we have Donald Pleasance, who plays the president. Love that.
Yes.
Isaac Hayes is in it. Tom Atkins, Ernest Borgnine, all these like old school cool actors. Lee Van Cleef, Susan Hubley, who was married to the one and only Kurt Russell, who plays Snake Pliskin in this movie.
Kurt Russell.
Yeah, he's
He
smoking
had
hot.
more oil on his body in that movie. They just lathered him up, and I don't know why.
See, this is why I made you watch it.
Yeah, I know.
And super cool Harry Dean Stanton is in this too. So it has an incredible cast.
So there are a lot of key moments in this movie that I thought were great. There was a part where they initially asked him to go find the president in New York.
Right. So what happens is, like we told you, Manhattan is a maximum security prison. They've like isolated it somehow, and then the Air Force One gets hijacked by resistance fighters, and they crash into Manhattan. And then the government has to send in Snake Pliskin to Manhattan to find the president. So that's the whole premise of the story.
If you're wondering what this man looks like, if you
Kurt Russell?
millennials out there have ever seen,
Google Kurt Russell Young.
yes, he kind of reminds me of Billy and Mandy. There's a character on that show called Haas Delgado, and he is pretty much a younger Haas Delgado. He's got an eye patch. It's great. Like, long wavy hair, muscular, but like, he's just killing it.
Just lovely.
Ugh.
Love
And
Kurt
then he
Russell.
goes, being shipped into Manhattan. Now, the president is in this little orb thing.
Yeah, they shoot him out of Air Force
Yeah.
One because they got to save him. He's
Right.
the president, right? I wonder what they would have done if it was Donald Trump. Moving along. Moving along.
Dropping that bomb.
So, yeah, they had to save him, and he's like handcuffed to a briefcase that has like top secret information.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what we do with our presidents. We're like, here, take it with you.
Take
Run.
it
You're
and
fine.
Handcuff yourself.
One of my favorite scenes in this movie,
Yeah.
when he was in a boxing ring.
Oh, why is that one of your favorite scenes in the movie,
Because
Zachary?
Choreography was so absurd. One of the big things about these older films that we watched, a lot of people take for granted, is the very theater acting and the props that they use, and like
It's a little over the top.
it is.
Yeah.
But there's no CGI effects. There's
No.
no like, oh, we need a fight scene. Let me just on the computer digitally. No, it's two people who have to do this choreography
Right.
together, and we film it. And the fight scene is like cumbersome, I believe.
Yeah.
And
Is that the word that comes to mind?
yes,
When you see Snake Plissken fighting with this giant wrestler type person?
it was cumbersome.
Yeah. Why did they have him fight? I forget. I
no.
just saw this the other night.
I know. But it was like a ring, and I think it was like to
It was like a match.
yeah, it was a match.
Yeah.
But did you see his snake tattoo? It's so funny.
Yes.
Like on his chest.
Snake Plissken has a snake running down, like from the middle of his chest down to his belly.
Yes.
Very sexy.
Ah.
Anyway.
But they fought in front of, like, I think he was one of the leaders or one of the header people, because it was all of the people from New York watching him fight this guy. So
Be
I don't
careful you don't spill your wine.
know. Oh, I will not.
His microphone people is getting dangerously close to
I'm
the
just gonna
glass
hold
of
it.
wine.
I'm just gonna hold
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
And yeah, he was just fighting them in front of everybody. I don't remember why they were fighting though. That's the worst part.
Well, I have no excuse for not knowing because I've seen it at least 4 times.
I saw it once a couple days ago.
Yeah. But anyway, that scene just stuck in your head.
Well, the way that they were fighting and flailing, and
Right.
it was just funny because
And they have clubs with nails in them.
Yes.
That was amazing.
And he got smacked in the back of the head
With a club with nails in it.
and they showed it.
Yeah. So obviously Snake Plissken wins. And for those of you that don't know, Kurt Russell is kind of short
Yes.
and very thin. And he's like,
This guy
fighting
was
this
fucking,
giant,
he was a
right.
massive
Yeah.
man.
and Snake Plissken comes up and hits him over the head with the club, and that's the end of it.
There was a scary moment when he loses a shield, and then he's got this like
There's some
nail
suspense
back,
there, yeah.
and he like deflected an attack, hit him in the leg, brought him down to his level, and
And that was the end of
that
it.
was it.
Snake Plissken rules.
But it was cool because they didn't peter the camera away. We saw it. We witnessed it.
Right.
Someone's head got bashed in.
Right.
And they portrayed it very well.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what was one of my favorite things in the movie?
What's that?
Besides Snake Plissken being hot and Adrienne Barbeau being cool as fuck, is the car with the chandeliers on the outside.
Yes.
Do you remember that? And it had a little disco ball in the inside.
Yes.
Yeah, this was Isaac Hayes' car in the movie. And it has 2 chandeliers on either side of
What
like
was the car chase?
which
that,
one?
Was
There
that
a couple.
well the one where they crashed into 2 taxis?
Oh, they were trying to escape from New York
Wow.
on one of the bridges.
Right. Yes.
And they were going over the bridge. That's where some of our beloved characters meet their end.
Ugh.
Don't tell them who.
I'm not going to say a word.
See it, people.
Marco.
You'll find out. And you know what struck me too? It moves at a really fast pace.
It does.
So I watched it Friday night. It was really late. And I was like, oh, I'll just watch it until I fall asleep. I think it was around midnight. And yes, people, that's really late for me. Don't make fun of me. And the next thing I know, it's 1:30 and the movie's over.
Right. It was.
And I did not fall asleep.
But it's definitely a good watch. I think this is a movie that you could definitely watch a few times to pick up a couple new things. And the acting isn't terrible. Like sometimes the movies that I get put through are
What does that mean?
Ooh,
You
I don't
get to it through
know.
that
I
I
don't
make. You
know.
mean that I make you watch like Savage Streets, maybe?
Yeah, that one was a little
okay.
rough. But the dialogue is a little bit more believable in this one, and I think it's
You know I'm
good.
gonna make you watch more of these movies.
And I'm gonna laugh, but pretend to be scared.
No, you can tell people the truth. That's why we talk about these movies.
Right.
You're like, Marco made me watch a crap movie last night.
But I think honestly the concept in this one is really good because it does give me like a very like Hunger Gamesy,
Yes.
different society.
I see that
vibe.
more than your Walking Dead
Yes,
reference.
you know, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of like dystopian
Mhm.
references in this, and for
Right.
an early on movie, they do hit a lot of good points and a lot of good realizations about society, and that are still like applicable today. I
Yeah,
think.
like
there are
what?
some like the whole like police brutality force, and
yep.
like that's a huge thing in today's like society and like social justice movements and like the incarceration in general is going through a lot of things. So the
Right.
fact that the entirety of Manhattan is just closed off to criminals, like they can fend for themselves.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
actually think that's a cool concept.
isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just glad that it's never
Not
really
true.
happened, right?
Because we would be there.
we live in Manhattan. Well, I live in Manhattan.
She
yeah.
lives in Manhattan. I am.
Who's she?
I'm in
Oh,
Brooklyn.
me. Yeah. So I'm glad it's not a reality.
Right.
Our lovely island, but it's a cool premise.
Let's talk about The Divide.
Yes, another movie I made Zach watch.
But I like this one a lot. I
Mhm.
really did. There's a lot of great character development in the scenes. We get a lot of an inside scoop on a lot of different people trapped in one small location for majority of this movie.
Right. So yeah. So keeping with our theme of apocalyptic horror, this one doesn't mess around. It just opens up with an explosion. People are running around
Right.
trying to save their lives.
Not a lot of backstory needed.
No. It just goes right into it. And a handful of these people run into a basement in a building, seeking shelter.
We have a lot of character one-on-ones. We have a lot of like talking and a lot of interpersonalities, mingles, mixes, and you name it in the basement of this building.
Right.
But pretty much because they're bunker, to last out like a fallout bunker.
Yeah.
For
It was
the
like a
movie.
laundry room. Did you see the washing machines down
Yeah.
there? Yeah. It was like it's similar to Escape from New York. This also takes place in New York, and it's one of those buildings where like the laundromat is down in the basement, and that's where these people take shelter.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you see the washing machines down there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I live in a basement now, so holler.
Where you belong.
Yeah.
Oh, just kidding.
Keep it down there. No, but like I understand like the formation of a basement's like different. You seem cut off almost.
Yeah.
And we do have a lot of like I don't know, utilities down there. So it would seem like a pretty good spot to be.
I would run down there.
I
if
would run
something
there too.
exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on. There's a lot of different scenes in this that really talk about
Oh wait, can I talk about the cast?
talk more about the cast.
This
please.
one also similar to Escape from New York has an amazing cast. Michael Biehn, who's older actor that's been in actually Terminator. Was he in Terminator? Oh no, that was Robert Patrick. Never mind. Anyway, Michael Biehn, Milo Ventimiglia, who's now in This Is Us.
Okay.
Courtney B. Vance is in it. Rosanna Arquette, who's amazing. Michael Eklund. So they really got a really great cast together to do this movie.
The acting was really well done
Yeah.
too.
And the director is Xavier Gens. I think that's how you say his last name. He's French.
Okay.
French bad boy.
French bad
The
boy.
French bad boy of the cinema. French cinema.
Cinema.
Yeah. And the reason I say that is because Xavier Gens did a movie called Frontiers. And I'm sorry, Zach, I cut you off, but I'm going to finish saying what I have to say.
No, say it. Say it. I am just.
You're just listening, waiting for your cue.
I am.
Anyway, he did a movie called Frontiers, which is an ultra-violent French film, 2007, I believe.
Okay.
And during that time in France, there was a resurgence of horror films, and they were all very extreme. Frontiers being one of them. High Tension is one.
Wasn't that around the time that Paranormal Activity came out? When was the first Paranormal Activity out?
Paranormal Activity cannot be counted in this group of movies.
I know, but like, I'm trying
I
to
don't
think of
know.
like significant horror around 2007.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 'Cause
Well,
you're like talking about a horror revival.
Yeah.
Look up.
Look it up while
Let
I
me see.
while I rattle
Yeah.
on this bit of
Let me
information.
see. What came out during that
Yes.
time?
So High Tension, Martyrs, Calvaire, these are all French movies that came out of that era. And also Inside is a French movie that also came out in that era. It's one of the most fucked up French films I've ever seen in my life. It's about this woman who's pregnant and this other woman insists on taking the baby from her before it's born. Fill in the blanks, people.
Ooh, we've
What'd
got
you find
some
out on
good
Paranormal?
ones.
All right.
28 weeks later.
So on this side of the pond, although that was British, right?
14. I'm just trying to think of big ones that I remember.
Rat-
Paranormal Activity was 2007. I was correct.
You're like an encyclopedia.
Ah.
Oh, look, see inside.
Inside.
2007. Oh, we're totally distracted, people. Sorry. Wreck, which is a Spanish movie. We should do a podcast on that.
But yeah, so a resurgence of horror in 2007. Who'd have known?
Or thereabouts.
Oh, thereabouts.
Or thereabouts.
Put it on the map. Put it on the radar.
Yes, please. Sorry. Anyway, do you still remember what you were going to say before I cut you off and started my rants and
keep
rave?
going.
Okay. All right. So this is, like you said, this is kind of like a microcosm of society, right? So there's some stock characters in there, like the bully and the mean guy and
the crazy
couple,
guy
and the single crazy mother with the little kid.
Please
the
save
daughter.
my baby.
Yeah, which was kind of didn't happen. The baby gets taken and killed.
Oh.
Oops.
Spoiler.
Sorry.
Not bad. Not bad.
So yeah, so there's like all these different people thrown together into a very stressful situation,
right.
and how they try to survive.
As long as you absolutely know the people, a lot of people assume, oh, I'm trying to be safe with all these people. They're all good people. Like, you don't know any of these people.
Some of them knew each other.
Some of them, but not all the time.
2 of them were stepbrothers. Then they had the friend.
But people don't know these
Not
people.
all of them.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of like, I don't know who this person is moments. Right. There's a scene that I really enjoyed where...
Tell us about it, Zach.
I'm not going to tell you why there was a dead body, but there was a dead body.
We do spoilers all the time.
Yes.
We have to put a disclaimer at the beginning of these episodes.
On all of our...
Spoilers.
Put it on my forehead.
Okay.
That maybe the viewers will see in the future.
Maybe.
But yeah, no, there's a scene on there where there was a dead body that they were all faced with.
Oh,
and
I
they
know
had
what you're
to
gonna
chop
say.
it up.
Yep.
Chop it up. And they had to break a lot of these social, barriers that a normal person lives. Like, if you saw a dead body, the last thing you're going to think is, hey, I'm going to chop this up and...
Yeah, they just needed to get rid of it because they didn't want it to deteriorate in the bunker. We're going to call it the bunker, right? In the bunker with them all around. So they decide to chop it up into little pieces and throw it down like it would look like a latrine, right?
Yeah, it was weird looking.
Listen, the whole movie is intense and depressing and kind of gross. And I literally felt like I needed to take a shower after I saw it.
That's what he said. I walked in today. He's like, I feel so gross.
Yeah. But I love movies like that. They're they serve their purpose. Like,
right.
And this guy Xavier Gens, who's the director, like, this is the stuff that he does. So he tries to get a rise out of you.
And it also tries to make you feel out of place too. Like, oh my God, what if I was in that situation? How would I be taking this?
I would die immediately.
Right. I feel like I have a good chance. I came from upstate.
You would probably survive, and I would be dead immediately. I wouldn't even make it to the bunker.
Oh, God. I'd probably start a new society. It's like, oh, it's Zach.
Look at you. And I'll miss the whole thing because I'll be dead.
Oh, I'd be so sad.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I wouldn't make it to the bunker. I would die of fright right there the minute the explosion went off. Dead.
Oh, my gosh.
You would have to, you know what you would have to do? You would have to, like, step over my body to save yourself.
No, I feel like nothing can scare millennials. Like, I feel like shit happens and we're just like told to deal with it. Like,
no, you're not.
I don't know.
That's another podcast. Trust me.
I feel like you could tell us the world's ending because we've prepped for 3 of those so far.
Yeah.
So,
okay. All right. Then I'll hang out with you guys. So, and one of the notes I took is, they get thrown into this bunker and they try to survive, but things deteriorate, for lack of a better word, very quickly. Mm-hmm. There's fights, there's murder, like we mentioned. There's these weird sexual dynamics, which are so icky.
Talk
and
about
poor Rosanna Arquette's character.
Please.
So Rosanna Arquette plays the mother. I'm assuming she's a single mother because it was just her and her daughter. The daughter gets taken away. We're not going to elaborate on that. You'll have to watch the movie.
You have to watch this movie.
But then she loses her mind. Like, her daughter's gone. I get it, right? Her daughter's gone. They take her away, never to be seen again, and she loses her mind. And she kind of, like, the way she decides she's going to survive is by aligning herself with these, like, bullies that are in the bunker with them. They're like they might have been criminals outside in the
We
in
have
the
no
world.
idea.
We don't
This
know.
is what I was talking
Right,
about, right? You have no idea who these people are.
And they just take advantage of her. They put her in these weird sexual situations. They have sex with her. They demean her. They're just horrible to her. And the whole thing's so real that it's kind of like gross,
Right.
right? And I don't get grossed out at movies that much because I've seen it all.
Right.
But this one was
This
something
one was
else.
just socially made you feel vulnerable, right? Like, it just made you think, okay, if I was her, how would I be handling this? If I were these people, would I be doing this? If I'm in this book, like, it puts you in your head in a weird spot because you're not thinking like day to day. You're thinking in survival instinct, almost a caveman mode, you know?
Right.
Because
Right.
people,
It's
you
your
know,
basic
it's
survival
people.
instincts.
They scale it back when huge significant things like the world ending
Right.
are actually happening.
Zachary, you got a lot out of these movies
I
because
love
you're like
them.
tapping into like the social commentary, the
You know,
context.
'cause that's what a lot of it is too.
Right.
Because like, how did we get to this post-apocalyptic setting? You know, what factors were leading up to it? Who was governing us at the time?
I wonder.
I wonder, right? Like,
Yeah.
how did we get here?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I wrote, steady descent into madness. Because they all go mad.
Yeah.
And it's funny because at the beginning when people started doing things that were not, even though we don't know a lot about the characters, but what I considered not to be their norm, when they started like acting weird, I was like, well, is it because they're losing their mind? They're in this bunker, 4 walls, and they can't get out because they're afraid of the toxic level of radiation or whatever outside because of the explosion? Or is this radiation affecting their minds?
Could you imagine what they were feeling when that door opened?
Right, and there's a scene where the door opens, one of them goes out to investigate what's going on. So that radiation comes in. I think as the movie went on, I decided, and it was kind of obvious, I guess, to me, that it was the radiation.
Yeah,
Like
that just
screwing with them.
slowly. Yeah.
Like some of them, like there's this one guy, the character played by Michael Eklund, that puts on Rosanna Arquette's lingerie, and he shaves his head and his eyebrows, and he looks so creepy. He's totally lost his mind.
Yeah, he shaves his whole head off, and he becomes this. You know what he almost looks like? If you ever see I Am Legend, he looks like one of those daytime
does.
zombies. It's
He
weird
does,
looking.
yeah.
It's weird.
And then Milo Ventimiglia's
Yeah.
character does the same thing. Eyebrows are gone.
Mhm.
All of his hair is gone. So they look really creepy and weird.
I cannot tell you the first time I saw it, it reminded me exactly like the I Am Legend zombie creature.
Yeah, I didn't
things.
think about that, but you're absolutely
You know,
right.
which is kind of falls on the similar apocalyptic, vibe as this movie. So that's
It does. That was
Add a number
actually
4.
so when we were talking about which movies to cover under this theme, I Am Legend was one of the things that I
it's
thought
up
of.
there.
Yeah.
I remember, and
Yeah.
I remember when that came out. Everyone's so sad, but go see that one too.
Why
you
were
know.
you sad? Tell us that.
There's a huge spoiler I don't want to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tell me offline.
I think y'all know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
There's a scene in The Divide. I have to mention it. So after they've all gone mad, Milo Ventimiglia's character, he's wearing his underwear, but he has his penis on a table,
Yeah.
and one of the guys is poking at it. And they're telling one other guy, poke it, and the guy wouldn't poke it. And Milo Ventimiglia's character's like, he just doesn't want to do it. And I'm like, that's bizarre. But I appreciate it.
Well, they said the same thing about chopping it.
I would have
you know?
poked it,
They said the same thing. I would have probably touched it too, just to
even though he
give it
was,
a pat.
even though he was insane. I would
Yeah,
have poked
maybe
it.
just, yeah.
A little pat. What you got going down down there? Okay. This is going off the rails. Let's focus.
Save it.
Yep,
Save it.
Say it.
Why don't we keep talking about this a little bit, and then we'll get on to A Quiet Place.
Are you
Yeah?
cutting me off?
I'm not cutting you off.
You are. But I will say one. I will. Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
About The Divide?
Yes.
please.
Of course.
Okay. My big announcement is that it's not for everyone. That's what I wrote. Wait. This is what I wrote. Some may find it offensive, too violent, too perverse.
It's really out there.
It
You
re-
know what
yeah.
else I thought about when he looked like a skinless guy? He kind of gave me Marilyn Manson vibes. If you're into Marilyn Manson, you would probably enjoy this movie. I mean, it's the same kind of like alternative styled movies, I guess.
It
Don't
is.
watch this if you're like
Yeah.
gonna puke at the slightest thing. I promise you.
And if you are going to puke, watch it anyway.
Yeah,
That's
watch
an
it.
and
but
that's an endorsement, people.
it's a bucket movie.
Okay. Bucket list. Bucket list.
Have a bucket
Oh,
by your side.
I was wondering what you were talking about. Have a bucket by your side. Okay. shall we
I love the
make
next
the
movie.
introduction to
Mm-hmm.
what?
Quiet Place.
What?
A Quiet Place.
Okay.
Ah!
All right. Go for it.
I had
Love
so much
this
hype
movie.
for this movie. No, really, I did. There was a lot of because John Krasinski from The Office, everybody knows who he is. That's where he got a lot of his, start and fame and recognition from because everyone's seen the damn Office about 3 or 4 million times.
I haven't.
I'm just
you should
staring
see
at
his
him.
face.
I'm
Yeah.
just staring
He's like,
at him.
what? Yeah, I'm not an Office fan.
Ugh. And honestly, at this point, it's not even a fandom. It's like just a culture. Like we don't. It's not even funny to us anymore. We just like watch it to watch it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever you
I've seen the series so many times just because it's just been on the background, on loop. There's jokes that happen. I laugh at them. Anyway, that's where he's from. The director of this movie.
Okay.
Quiet Place.
Okay.
Now, I saw it in theaters 3 or 4 times, and this is such a theater movie.
You paid to see that movie 3 or 4 times?
Yes, I did.
Good
well,
for you.
once because I was dating this guy who worked at the movies. It was great.
And he got you in for free,
Yep.
didn't he?
Oop.
Mhm.
Saw it like 3 or 4 times. It was great. And the entire time, and I saw it in different theaters too to kind of see if I had the same feeling. But it all was the same. I think it was the surround sound because the way that they film
yeah,
this,
yeah.
the sound levels that they use, almost non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they paid there are people out there who are paid, right, to make rustling leaf noises
Yes.
and like, you know what I mean? Like drip drop noises from a sink bathtub. Because I don't know if you know this, not a lot of sounds are used that you're seeing, right?
No,
a
they
lot
film
of those
them
sound,
later in a
right,
studio.
and they
Yeah.
edit them and they put them in, so you can actually hear the things.
Yeah.
Sort of like feet shuffling and like things like that. I think those people should be paid 3 times as much for this movie because that's what made this whole film, right?
Let's start a petition.
Just the way that they filmed the sounds and the monsters and the just everything in this film. Even to the point where there's a spoiler, right? Spoiler coming up.
Spoiler alert, people.
She steps on this nail.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get back into this, but I'm just on a flow right now about the sounds. I really want to talk about it.
And when she's like this, we got to let her
You
talk.
just let me go.
Yeah.
And when she steps on this nail, there's like a flesh wound noise that they use. Okay, like it's I'm not gonna try to imitate it because it's disgusting. It's disgusting. It sounds gross, and you cringe. And when you're an audio person, you remember like someone had to figure out how to make that noise sound like that. Like that wasn't like a real noise, obviously. Like they made that noise, and someone had to figure out how to make it sound that disgustingly accurate if a nail was going into your foot. So I really, really, really appreciated the sound levels in this movie.
People, you should see his face. He really loves this movie. I can tell. Before we move on from the theatrical experience that A Quiet Place is, can I give you a trip down memory lane? It's time. It's time. So I also saw this in the movie theaters only once.
Okay.
And I saw it at the Alamo Drafthouse.
Oh, it's such a fun little place, isn't it?
Yes. And for those of you that don't know, the Alamo has a very strict policy of no texting or no being on your phone during the movie. It's forbidden. So it was absolutely silent in the whole theater. You could hear a pin drop.
Yes.
So that was the perfect. But as a matter of fact, let me tell you a little story about the Alamo Drafthouse. My favorite story about them is that they asked Madonna to leave one of their screening rooms because she was on her phone. I was like, that's brilliant. I love it.
Get out, Madonna.
So seeing that movie there was great, because you could hear a pin drop.
Yes.
Yeah, I could hear the guy behind me breathing. It was kind of creepy. But I liked it.
That's how they advertise this movie, and that's how they really put it out there and how they really introduced the idea of this horror to us. And I thought it was brilliant because the slightest thing that you didn't think would be scary suddenly was scary because the whole room was silent.
Right. And actually, similar to The Divide, it opens. It doesn't mess around. It opens. It opens kind of like you're in the middle of the action already.
Yes.
Yeah. And it also takes place in New York. So these 3 movies, unbeknownst to us when we picked them, all take place in New York.
It was filmed around my hometown.
It
you
was?
know that? Yes.
No.
It was filmed about an hour from my hometown.
Tell our listeners what your hometown is.
So I'm from the 315 area code. Hello, everybody. Hi.
We don't know where that is.
It's near Syracuse.
There you go.
Right. Go Orange.
What's
and
orange?
Orange is our basketball team.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Go
Syracuse
Orange. Go Orange.
We a giant mascot. This film was filmed upstate, everybody. I think about an hour or two from Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
And he rented out the entire town for about
He
a
did.
month. Yep.
Mr.
He
Krasinski,
had
who
signs,
wrote and directed it.
signs over everything, you know.
Were you there when they filmed it?
I never went through because I was at college. And I think I either just moved to New York City at the time, or I was in a weird not home period in your 20s.
He's still in that period.
Still in
people.
that weird period, but now
In case you were wondering. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh man. But yeah, I don't know. He rented out the town and like wanted to make it, you know, as realistic as possible. And yes, we do have a lot of trees and a lot of openness up there.
It's beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. Beautiful. And I think they filmed it during the fall too. So
It looked like it because of the leaves and all that stuff. Yeah.
But I want to get back to what you were saying, how this movie jumped right into things.
Go for it.
I mean, the first monster sighting, right?
Spoiler alert, people.
Spoiler alert.
I mean, although I think everybody has pretty much seen A Quiet Place.
I think so. And
Yeah.
if you haven't, like, what are you
Then
doing?
shame on you.
Shame on
Shame
you.
on you.
This movie was so good. And I'm a little disappointed they're doing a number 2. Can I say that? Can I say that?
Of course, you can say whatever you
I'm
want.
saying it. I'm disappointed they're doing A Quiet Place 2.
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
But
That was such a good movie.
What if it's really good, the sequel?
What are you going to talk about? It started great. And it ended beautifully.
Maybe
and
it'll
we
be good.
Didn't need another thing. I could envision those women saving history. I don't need to watch them do it.
Which women?
The women at the end.
Tell me more,
Do you not
Zachary.
remember this movie?
Of course I remember. I'll let you talk. Cues, Zach, cues.
Okay, so it pretty much ended with the girl who was having hearing problems using her, you know, disability to overcome.
Right, which was pretty
Amazing.
cool. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, such a power trip. We call those power moves.
Is that
But
what we
it was
call them?
it was the mom
Right.
and the 2 kids.
Right.
And I could just see them like saving the world. And I don't need a movie to tell me that they're going to do that. I saw it in their face when they had the shotgun in their hands and they were like, "Oh, 3 more coming? No worries. We figured out how to kill him."
So you won't be seeing the sequel, is what you're saying.
I'm probably going to watch it.
Yes, you are.
We're probably going
I
to
know you
together.
are. All right. Go ahead.
Um,
You know that Krasinski and Emily Blunt are married?
yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
They were going to hire another girl. Did you know that?
I do.
They were
Because
gonna-
my head is full of useless
I don't know
information.
why you know these things,
Oh.
but yeah.
Yeah, I do. But tell us.
She was going to marry another or cast another girl, and then Emily Blunt was like,
Woman.
Nah, it's
Woman,
fine.
not girl.
A
Woman.
woman? Who are they
Woman.
going to cast? Do you know?
Oh, I don't.
Oh.
Tell me. No, what I remember Emily Blunt saying in an interview was that she wasn't going to be in it, and when she read the part, she said to John Krasinski, like, I need to be in this movie. But I don't know who they were going to cast.
No, I don't know who they were going to cast.
Oh,
either.
Zach, I thought you knew.
No, I didn't know.
I was all
know. I
excited.
thought you knew because you know everything. so.
No, I don't know everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Almost everything.
I want to talk more about good scenes from that because they had so many good little moments. I mean, the first death was amazing.
Right.
It really set the tone of the whole damn film. You hated this kid from the start, right? You hated.
No.
Oh, he was being a little
No, he was
dumbass.
being a
Oh,
kid.
what a dumbass.
Zachary, you have no heart.
This is why I don't have kids.
Me either.
Great
but,
heart,
but
no
still.
kids.
But you know what? Before you get into that, can I ask you a question?
What?
Do you want more wine?
Yes.
Pause. Okay, wine has been replenished.
More rewind.
Little champagne.
Rewind. We rewind.
Go ahead, Zach. You wanted to talk about your favorite scenes in the film.
Oh yes, I know.
The first kill.
The first kill
Which
was
was a little
great.
shocker.
Oh my god.
And shame on you for thinking that kid was awful.
Oh, he was irking me. I'm like, stop doing that.
Well,
I told you to be quiet.
They took care of that for you.
Yeah, well, good. It was like a bittersweet because I was like, and then I was like, thank God I don't have to deal with him the whole movie.
Oh, Zachary. That's awful.
There's some movie. Oh, what else?
But I
what was
secretly
that other
agree.
movie that we talked about like that with the annoying ass kid? The Babadook.
Oh,
Same
The
feeling.
Babadook. Okay.
Same feeling.
All right, I gotcha. Now we're on the same
Now we're on
page.
the same page.
Okay. So what other scenes did you want to talk about?
I wanted to talk about one of the scenes where there's a baby, right, and it's flooded. I mean, absolutely flooded.
Oh, when she's pregnant and is giving
Yes.
birth?
Giving birth.
They're also in a basement,
They're also in a basement.
like The Divide.
Right. They go in the basement because they know they're having a baby. So stored the wife down.
Right, and everybody knows the premise. Like, you
Right.
can't talk, otherwise the aliens hear you and they kill you.
Right. And we figured that out first 10 seconds with the
Right.
first death. And I mean, they live on a farm, and their whole farm is decked out in this how I can be as quiet as possible with still being a human vibe. Which I mean, good on them, right? Like, thank God that one was an engineer, and thank God one was a doctor, and they're like this power couple in upstate New York, right? Because a lot of, I mean, if it was an average human, I don't think it would have mattered. But there were two,
Yeah, it wouldn't have been as interesting.
no, but
Yeah.
like they were two very smart
because
humans.
normal people aren't interesting. Anyway, no,
That
we
is
didn't say
not
that. We didn't say that.
true. Normal people are interesting.
Zach, things that you're saying today.
Just outrageous.
Go ahead.
Um,
Keep going.
but yeah, I mean, like, look, they have two very smart parents. They have a couple kids, but they've not trained them, but like taught them how to adapt to the situation, And one of my favorite moments in this film is when they were on top of
Each
their
other?
silo.
Oh.
Not each other.
Did I just snort?
You snorted.
I snorted.
And they light a fire.
Yes.
And it signals all the other people who are just out there making it too. Like, hey, we're out here. Like,
yeah. Which is interesting. We kind of don't know. Like, there's one other person that shows up at some point.
Right.
That older man.
Right.
But there's nobody else except these characters that we've been introduced to. So it's like, are there other survivors?
Right.
There's a lot of questions in this movie. Like, who are these creatures? What are they? Why are they here? What do they do with you once they abduct you? Do they kill you? Which it all works in the movie.
Right. And I think that's great, right? Because the way they advertised it. Number one, let's talk about the advertising.
Wait, maybe the sequel answer these questions.
I hope it doesn't.
Okay, go ahead.
The way they advertised it, you had no idea what the fuck was happening. Okay.
Right.
The way they advertised this movie, it was like creepy horror music. It was a lot of John Krasinski's face. It was a lot of like old town views, but nothing was ever shown about monster. Nothing was ever shown about creature. Nothing was ever shown about aliens, people. So when you went to the theaters to see this movie, you had no idea what was going on. Literally no idea. You pretty much were walking in and sat down and were like, the whole theater got silent, like you would say, and
unless you were in a regular theater with somebody texting in front of you, which is annoying.
Right.
People don't
Alamo, fantastic.
I haven't gone on a rant about that in a while. Don't text and watch.
But just the way that you were unprepared for that first death, and how loud they made it too.
Yeah.
You weren't ready for it.
No.
So that really set the tone for the rest of the movie. You
Yes.
know, you were just sitting there like, holy shit, their kid just got manhandled. What's gonna happen next? And so like every slight little inconvenience they had, you were like, is this gonna alert the rest of the is this gonna alert the monster? Like, is this really gonna put? And so I think that ambiguity of, am I going to be hurt versus where did these things even come from, sets you, the viewer, in a great tone and a great viewing position for the rest of this film.
What position were you in, Zachary, when you were watching?
Startled, worried mother.
You answered the question.
I was there.
He doesn't skip a beat this one.
I was there. Startled, worried mother. I'm like, holy shit, I'm about to give a birth to a child. That scene was
in
wild.
a bathtub.
In a bathtub.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I noticed. So I watched it for the second time this weekend, and I have to say I was very distracted. I think this movie works better in a theater.
Or with a really nice pair of headphones. Like, I mean, get
yes.
yourself some noise
Yeah.
canceling, I can't hear the world headphones.
I think it's because there's not a lot of spoken word.
right.
That I was very distracted. I was checking my emails. I was checking social media while I was watching it. So I'm glad I saw it in a theater the first time because I was very focused, right? Especially in a theater where you are not allowed to check your phone, So
Right.
it forces you to
Hone in and zero in.
to
Right.
focus on the movie, which is important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is one of those movies, too.
Right.
Like,
Can we talk about the themes of parental responsibility in the film?
go off.
So I think at the end of the day, the theme of the movie is new parents' anxiety over a newborn, right? Over expecting a newborn.
Yeah.
And also not being able to protect your children, right? So,
Yes.
At the beginning, when the first kid is taken away, that, like you said, it sets the tone for the movie. But it's also like the two parents never get over, and the kids, the siblings, they never got over the
But
death of that kid.
But there's the death of that kid, but also the girl thinking that the father didn't love her.
Right, because
Because
she thought she was responsible for the
Right.
kid's death.
there's this underlying, oh, I think dad's mad at me for being responsible for killing the youngest kid.
Right, because she what did
She gave him the batteries for the
to put-
fucking airplane.
Yeah, so the first kid has a toy, a plane.
Very loud ass toy.
Yeah,
We
it
told him
makes
to put it
noise.
back and he didn't.
Right, and the sister.
Yep, and he still had it.
Why are you yelling?
Oh, I didn't like him.
And the sister gives him the batteries just to make him happy.
Enabler.
Stupid. And and the fucking thing makes a noise, and the alien comes and gets him.
Because you see it on his face, John Krasinski's face. As soon as he heard what it was, you knew. He knew.
Right.
He knew. He made a split second, and he was like, my fucking kid.
Right, and there's a lot, and that's the whole theme of the movie. Like, there's a lot of guilt around not being able to protect your
I wish
children.
I could pull up his face and show it to everybody, because it's so just oh my god,
Right,
no.
right.
Because and he tried so hard, because he was like, my kid fucked up, I gotta go save him, and he starts sprinting after his kid. But he knows
he wasn't fast enough.
Oh my god,
the aliens were
mangles
faster.
this kid.
Right.
Thank God.
Right.
But honestly, that sets the tone for the rest of the movie, and you're gonna be on your toes. And if it's your first time watching it, listen for little details, listen for little nuances,
And focus, people.
and focus.
Put your
on
phone
it.
down.
Yes, Marco.
Rant over.
These are our roundabouts of apocalypse themes movies for this week. Is there anything you want to add about any of the movies, just before I?
No, I mean, I just thought it was very curious that all three of them take place in New York, and that was not our intent.
Well, there's a couple. There's a lot of them do. New York's a very fun, I'm gonna blow this up city.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a thing. Tokyo's another one.
Why?
Tokyo's another. That's for
Because I guess they're big,
huge
cities,
commercial
yeah.
bullshits, right?
and there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh, it's densely populated,
Densely populated.
yeah,
Everybody
millions
wants to
die.
go there. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's New York.
Right.
New York.
What did I write about? Yeah. So I mean, look, going back to A Quiet Place, it's anxiety over newborn, loss. The ultimate sacrifice at the
John
end.
Krasinski's
He ma-
death.
John Krasinski makes the ultimate sacrifice to save his
That's how you say
family.
his name, right? Krasinski.
Krasinski? Is
That's
that how you say it?
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
I hope that's right.
It is. Why wouldn't it be?
I don't
How else would you pronounce his last name?
I don't know.
And it's funny. I wrote down bringing a new baby is dangerous and irresponsible, and I mean that in the context of the film.
Right.
So I thought that was very interesting. So they decide to get pregnant and bring a child into this world.
We don't know timeline. We don't know when they had sex. She could have already been 4 or 5 months along.
No, because it starts with day 80 something, and then they fast forward to day 450 something. So she got pregnant afterwards. So I don't know if it was an accident. It must have been. Because why would you bring a baby into this fucked up world where aliens snatch you and God knows what they do with
But
you?
they're smart people. Maybe they were we're going to
That wasn't very smart.
I don't know, man. Love isn't smart.
Those are my parting thoughts
Love isn't
on
smart.
A Quiet Place.
A Quiet Place. Love isn't smart.
Love isn't smart.
All right, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We're going to wrap things up here.
We are
Stay tuned for our next show.
of the
Horror
Hags. Bye.